to the Mind Body Podcast, your Rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where it is all about the strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And today, our special guest is Professor Lauri Nemetz. Hello, Lauri. How are you today?
Hi, good to see you again. How are you doing?
Today, I am so glad that you said yes, Lauri. Lauri is we can decide what Lauri is because Lauri is so many things. So we're just gonna call her a Renaissance woman. And like from my point of view, Lauri is one of these people who you go like, wow, how do you know and understand the body so well? And like, can I like drink your brain and get all of the knowledge that you have? Because it is really fascinating. So I'm so excited you're here, Lauri. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So Lauri and I met through Anatomy Trains, actually, when I took a course. And then I reached out to Lauri to do some sessions for myself and to learn from her. And my latest adventure with Lauri was a super exciting one. I braved up and I did my dissection workshop with her. So can't wait to talk about that. But before we dive into all of that, Lauri, let's get to know who Lauri is. So give us 3 words that tells a little bit about you and a little bit of backstory behind each word.
Okay, so 3 words. I would say curious is probably up there as number 1. Traveler as number 2. And I would say, that's hard for that. Creative. I actually have to say creative is number 3.
Okay. I do have to relate to the curiosity part. I don't know if you agree, but I think if you work with the body, if you really want to get to know the body, you definitely have to be curious because there is so much that goes into it. And I'll tell you, Lauri, when I got and started doing this, I was like, I know what I'm doing. And the more that I learn, I even told you during the dissection workshop, I'm like, wow, the more that I learn, the more I realize how little I know.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a sign of somebody who's curious, for one thing. I mean, so you got that too in there. You almost have to stay humble. The most interesting people I have met in my whole life, the best professors I've ever had as my own teachers, are the ones that kind of stay humble and say, oh, there's always something else out there. You never are done. So, it just is.
Really never are done. That is so true. Yeah. Lauri, you do so many things for the body and you have an immense amount of knowledge, and I would say diverse knowledge, right? You know about fascia, you know about dissection, you have a background in dancing, correct? You teach yoga. It's wide. It's a wide variety. You're very multidimensional, which I personally love. What fascinates you with the body? Like, what makes you curious about the body? Because I love people like you. I'm kind of like that too.
Actually, goodness, I think I've always had some of that curiosity. Came from a background too where I didn't have a lot of money to take traditional dance lessons or whatever right away. So even when I came into kind of the dance world, it was oftentimes sideways. When I got more into modern dance, for example, I decided to become the manager of theaters at the American Dance Festival, very well-known dance festival down in Durham, North Carolina for a while. And it was a way to get myself in there and seeing a lot more on a high level and taking a lot more dance on a high level. So as far as the body, I've just always had this curiosity. And especially anatomy, well, body and movement in general, there's always more. I went into my master's degree, dance movement therapy, alternate form of psychotherapy. And I discovered too that, we had cursory anatomy and kinesiology and all sorts of movement analysis. But I was quickly discovering all the people that I worked with didn't look like my books. And even the people in yoga classes, Pilates, all of that too, nobody looked like the book. So I was really curious to dive in much, much deeper to be able to explore. And that's kind of what I did. And anatomy has kind of held my attention underlying all this other movement, which I keep doing, keep exploring, just because you don't run out of information. People tend to think, oh, you memorized all the parts, you're done. Nope. there's always more. And as in dissection lab, what you think you know sometimes is very different when you go deep diving under the surface. So things aren't always so clear and clean. You have to kind of understand relationships to find your way sometimes back into what we call common knowledge. So yeah, it just has been a curiosity exploration.
Makes me smile because I remember when I first got certified, and a lot of our practice and bodies are teachers, so they're people who know how to move, they're movers. And then you get the real body. And I remember one of my very first clients, she had so many injuries, and I kept going through the protocol and going, she really can't do any of the exercises that I'm supposed to teach her. And it's been a journey because it's not as easy as memorizing this muscle, this does and does that, this and that. There is an interconnection. And what I always tell my clients, if there is a dysfunction in one place, it turns into a full body dysfunction. So then is it the chicken or the egg? So what caused it? I don't know. Could it be physical? Could it be emotional? Lifestyle? Right. I'll tell you, that's the one very powerful message that I got. I pretty much shared it with you during dissection.
Yeah.
It's how the outside, you can fake it. You can fake the lifestyle that you've lived. But once you go underneath those layers, man, the body does not lie. The body tells you if you have taken care of it or not.
Absolutely. There's a lot of information, and it's always incredible to me because I've worked with the body in many different levels. Again, the movement and dance movement therapy, again, psychologically oriented. I worked with trauma as my main specialty when I was working psych work. And that was always interesting to me too, because it is the play of a whole variety of things. Your DNA can take you so far, and they're discovering more and more about this, but what you do with your DNA, what you do with your environmental space, what you do with your body as far as nutrition, all kind of go into the mix and, can change things quite dramatically. Yeah. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. As you know, I'm usually I'm religiously out on the trail hiking every morning. As crazy as my schedule is, I tend to put that as a priority for myself, these deep walks, because movement I do in here and teaching and everything else, but the walking too is something that is so important to me on a physical level, mental level, emotional level, that you have to put into the system. It's something that's key.
I'm so glad that you're bringing these very important points that I feel like I constantly preach and repeat, is that you have to make it a priority. We all have the same 24/7, right?
Right.
So when you say I don't have time, are you making time? Because if you're not, you will not have time. I'll tell you, yesterday I had a very busy day, and I didn't do the regular self-care that I do, and I could feel it by today. And today I actually had a cancel, and I was like, I could do work, which I have a list of to-dos.
Right.
Or I could step outside, refresh my brain, recharge my body, right? Charge body, mind, spirit. And then I'll be so much more effective and I'll feel so much better. And it works every time. It never fails. And going back to the DNA that you said is, yes, we all have genetics, predispositions. What do you do with that? And do you help it or do you not? And that's a choice. And that is what we forget, that we have a choice into how we take care of ourselves. Lauri, what is the one thing that is most fascinating for you about the body? Do you have anything? I know there's so many different things, but anything that fascinates you?
It changes all of the time. That's actually what keeps me fascinated. So, a lot of people kind of know me as this fascial expert, and always kind of expect that that's what I'm going to say, because that's one of my main areas of interest. But honestly, it will change on a given day and change depending what I'm seeing. So if I'm in dissection lab too, that particular donor that we're with, there may be something that has spoken to me in a way that I didn't think about before. So relationships and all of that can change. So I think overall, though, I would say the biggest thing is that the body is three-dimensional, and we don't always think that way. In movement, in everything else, that we have this space, and spatial use is really important as well. And like I said, how you even interact environmentally with what's around you, or internally, how you kind of create space or not, is I think also really something that always fascinates me. Yep.
I do have to say, when I started my studio, and maybe I've shared this with you, I started it as a fitness studio. There was not much more to it. It was just like, come get your fitness done. And then to the point that you're making, you start making observations from client to client.
Yeah.
And you start seeing patterns, and it makes you think of, why is this happening? And you start doing some research, and you're right. I mean, it's like I've been in the fitness industry 30 years. I've been doing Pilates 10 years. And I feel like I'm a newbie, because every day there is something new and something different. It's like, wow, here's a new mystery. And
Right.
you know, how does our environment, we just started talking before we started the recording, like, I don't know, there's Mercury retrograde. I don't know what's going on. Energies are off, but like everybody who has come in this week is feeling off. Something is off. And it makes you wonder, people who don't know each other, who have not done the same things, what is happening? What is happening around us as a collective, and how is that reflected into our body?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm love that on kind of a system level. That's why even in the title of my book, I used myofascial system in form and movement, because I'm interested in how systems scale up or down, or theoretically up and down. Because, you know, we talk about, architectural systems, or a societal system, or a biological system. It's always because there are things that are working in tandem with each other. So as you said, even if we don't know why, sometimes there's a whole vibe going on society-wise that is carried through, or something of that nature too. And those sorts of things are interesting on the macro level, on the micro level as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so when I did my certification, and I have a pretty extensive certification, we did not spend much time on anatomy. So when I started working with people, I'll see things and I'll do my own research and read. And then I was like, okay, but then I started seeing it's not just muscular, and that is how I got to fascia, right? And it's just like, you learn about this, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, emotional state, oh, the collective, oh, stress, and it just, the way it comes together. And I think one of the most fascinating things I find about the body is how it never lies, and how it's an expression of us, as I say, physically, mentally, emotionally, it's in spiritually. So if any one of these points is off, your body will tell you. Now, you might choose to ignore it, but it will tell you.
Absolutely. And, Martha Graham, the great modern dancer too, talked about movement never lies as being something in there too. So that piece comes out. In my work as a dance movement therapist, we look at a lot of those signs on one level too. But again, yeah. And like you said, it goes somewhere. And as we saw in Dissection Lab, sometimes I liken it to, what you're seeing left behind is like that seashell on the beach. Whatever that life was kind of written into there, it's written into the remains. You're not seeing the whole person anymore. You're not seeing all of those connections. We can't. But you're seeing something of that evidence that's written and left behind. Or like tree rings, like when you cut a tree down and you're seeing those tree rings, and you notice what year was a very, plentiful year, and what year was really hard. You kind of see that written into the body as well. It's fascinating.
And you know what else? Speaking of Dissection Lab, there were so many fascinating things. For me, it was the first time. So I was like, wow, I was like that kid that just like was speechless, seeing of all the artwork work that you were doing. And you made a point of that. And I thought, so important. We saw the body which we had a lot of health issues, and lifestyle was very clearly reflected into the state of the body. What was very interesting, there were a lot of things which were great in the body, even in a body that had a lot of medical issues. And that's one thing I always tell people, it's like your body is rooting for you. Your body wants you to feel well, to be good, but we just don't take care of it. And
overall drive towards that wellness. I really believe in that, so that if we nurture that for ourselves, for other people, it's amazing what we can do. Yeah, absolutely.
Lauri, what does you mentioned that you do a lot of outdoor stuff? I'm a huge fan of the outdoors, and I'm intentional to try to get at least a little bit of outdoor time all the time, whether it's, for me, it's mostly walking. What is your self-care routine look like for somebody who appreciates lifestyle and knows the importance of lifestyle? What is your self-care routine? Just curious.
Yeah, well, even as I already mentioned, the walking is there almost daily, year-round, weather-wise, whatever. As you mentioned, I have a really busy schedule. I am an adjunct professor, visiting guest professor. I teach these anatomy labs. I, teach privates. I teach movement classes and write some things. And I just started in on a PhD as well, because I'm
your spare time.
In my free time. Exactly. So I have a lot of things going on, but one thing that I find for myself, and I find that sometimes works well for other people too, is I make sure as much as I can to do my walk first thing in the morning. And when I carve that out, when I have that in there, first of all, there's something really beautiful about getting up early. I'm not a morning person. This is what's really interesting. I've become more of a morning person over the past, I know, it's a shift. It's really interesting. But when you get up and you are keying in with that natural light, when you are getting in and out there in, like I said, I love this particular trail that I go on all the time, because it is unpredictable, because the weather will always change surfaces. There's mud, there's gravel, there's more paved area, there's more just raw trail, and it's extensive. So on any given day, I can choose a different direction. I can see different things. And part of why that's so important to get in very first thing is, like all of us, it gets busy. So if you don't front load it sometimes in the beginning of your day, it's really is easy to have the day keep going and you have more to do. So as much as possible, I load that in the front of my day. That's kind of my non-negotiable. And then I make sure, especially because I am in my mid-50s, I make sure these days too that I'm putting in weight work, maybe more strongly I had in the past and everything else. But finding that also I need that just hitting my age period. That strength is important as well. My own yoga routine is in there quite frequently. I am finding I need to, like I can feel it when I don't take care of myself first before I work with people, either yoga or Pilates. So I make sure that I get in there. And then also these days where I can, it's scattered, but I do try to get in somebody else manual work or other work, and I play with other people's movement as much as I can. So I do have people sometimes sending me the balls, the whatever, the play, equipment, and I'm like, yes, please, because I will eat that up and see that. Or I have invites sometimes into somebody's system, and where I can fit it in my schedule, I always take that in. As I think too, I'm a kayaker. So most seasons, this season's been a little crazy with some family concerns, but most seasons I'm kayak guiding a little bit as well, and then getting out there on the water. But a given day, walking, and usually an hour and a half, sometimes a little bit longer. If you get up early and you're not on your computer or phone right away, and before the world starts to kind of wake up, you do have the time to do that. And it's makes a world of difference, sets up your day in a really positive way. Yeah.
I can attest. Every day, like you said, when I don't do my self-care, I feel it. And my job, just like yours, can be physical. It is mental. It's a lot of paying attention. It's, sometimes dealing with people's emotions and things. And I always say I have to keep my cup full and I have to stay strong. Like I can't spot a guy who is 6'2" and is 220 pounds if my back is hurting, right? So I have to stay strong. But yes, I think it's also very important. I'm glad that you shared kind of what your schedule looks like, because it's so easy to say, well, I don't have time. And that's an excuse, you guys. That is an excuse. If you don't prioritize it, you will not find time for it. If you make it a priority, you will find time for it. And another very important point you made, Lauri, is it's so easy to get up and get on the phone or log into the computer. And once you do that, you are a done deal, because the emails are there, the messages are there, and then you get sucked into that vortex and you're done. So I'll tell you, today when I was like, I can go get some work done, or I can do my self-care, I was like, don't you dare go into that laptop, because the minute you go there, you're going to take the time that you were going to spend on self-care, right?
Right. And absolutely. And kind of as you're saying too, if we don't put that in to that level, at some point you'll get an injury, you'll do whatever. And, nature will force you to take a break sometimes when it's the least convenient. So you kind of want to build in that strength, and hot word of the day is resiliency, but it's a good word, because we do want to be resilient for everything that we enjoy doing in life. And I was listening to, I think it was on NPR the other day, podcast about, again, quality of life versus years of life. And this is a really interesting thing, because there are some countries, the United States is not so great at this, where, ideally your years of life and your quality years are very close to each other. That's what I want for myself. But oftentimes the case is there's this big gap. And as you know, I mean, people our ages too, there's already a vast difference in how people age, or what they can do, or what they can, get out there and enjoy. And you want to be able to do the most that you can. Now, the good news is there's a lot of possibility for change at any point. Really big thing. There's been lots of studies done with elderly populations too, about balance improvement. We all know this in the movement world. So the good news is, yay, anytime, you have a client showing up in front of you, you're showing up in front of you, there's a possibility, because there's already the plugging in, hey, I want to get better and do something more. But yeah, I'm interested always in things like that, because I think we all have this idea we want to live long, but want to live long with that high quality of life for as long as possible. That's really
I talk to a lot of my elderly clients who they come here once or twice a week, and that's their movement. And I'm like, no, that is not enough. You walking is a great thing to do, right? Go meet your friend for coffee, and instead of sitting in the coffee house, go take a walk. Right. And I tell them, listen, you're making a choice of how the rest of your life will go. So do you want to sit in a wheelchair? Or do you want to be able to go walk in the park, or play with your grandkids, or whatever, or play golf as you're aging, right? Or do you want to be in pain, unable to move, sitting on the couch, watching all day TV? That is not that much of a quality of life. And something else that you said is, one of my clients said, Maria, you should make a video of age-appropriate exercises. And I said, actually, I don't agree with that, because I have clients who are in their 70s who move better than a lot of 20-year-olds move, because they're consistent, they stay active, they're aware of their bodies, they know to listen to their bodies. You would never tell their age based on the way that they move. Right? So there is, you have to listen to your body and meet your body where it is, but it doesn't go by age. It goes by how well you take care of your body.
Sure. No, and I'm even seeing that with, because I've been teaching in the university system for 20 years or so in there, and I taught other groups and ages before that. But in that, when I'm teaching movement classes in the university system, there is a lot of people are coming in with sometimes less body awareness today in classes than they were even 5-10 years ago. So we even have to kind of work harder at that, because there is so much constant connection online and devices and everything else, but to be able to engage with the world in a larger way is just so important so that you can stay healthy.
Yeah. Lauri, we can keep talking. So many questions pop to mind. And I do have to tell you one thing. One of my clients made a comment today. She said they were a Jew, and she said, I really would not want to hang out Maria, because she's constantly looking at how you stand and poking your stomach and saying, stay tall, shoulders down, lift up. It is so true. I'll see a client post something on Facebook, and I'll zoom and I'll check, like, are they staying properly? And then I'll make a comment, you were slouching on that picture, or they'll send me something and I'm like, you're slouching, stand tall. And we joke about it. However, it's a thing that I pay attention to. And if you pay attention to the world around you, sadly, even young kids are so slouched.
Right.
And that's becoming an epidemic. And posture is not just the look of it. It has physiological implications, then the physiological impacts the psychological, or vice versa. And there are humongous implications into this.
Right.
So I think it's important to remember that. All right, we do have to wrap up. See, I told you we can keep talking. Lauri, give us a piece of advice or a favorite quote or anything you want our listeners to take out of this. Hopefully they're really tuning into all the wisdom you're sharing with us.
Piece of advice is to make movement there and easy for you to get to. So what I mean by that is, if you do drive a lot, and like I have, I think, 8 pairs of different shoes in my car at all times, so that if I'm somewhere where I'm by a trailhead, I have what I need for taking a walk, or that you have that easy jacket that you can put by the front door or by your apartment or whatever else. Make movement, enjoyable and readily available in your life, and it will be. So
yes.
I think it's one of the biggest things.
I think you're so spot right. If you want it, you will find a way and a time and a place to do it. And I'll tell you, I don't venture. My studio is in my house. I run around the house. My trail I have by my house, so I'm very spoiled. But before, I used to have a gym bag in my car. Now I have dance shoes in my car. But I will pull out a sweatshirt. I'll have workout clothes if I drive by the gym and I want to do a quick stop. Sometimes, like today, I had to cancel. Actually, I have take a self-care date with my daughter tonight, so we're going to do something together. But I needed my alone time, which is I had to cancel. I took advantage of it. You find windows, and it doesn't have to be long, right? It could be 20, 30 minutes, but you can squeeze it in. Yeah,
absolutely.
Lauri, I do have to ask you, what does rebellious mean to you?
What does rebellious mean? It's a good one. I knew this was going to come, I'm sure. It's interesting because it's kind of, again, being that rebel, somebody who goes against the grain in some ways is kind of where I go for it. And as you know, I kind of do that. I like to be a little bit of a disruptor.
I wonder why you're here, Lauri.
I'm one of you. So the fact that, I came into dissection from my art background or my curiosity for movement and anatomy, and had that. I think that's, again, I've come into things in unusual ways, sometimes not the quote unquote normal way. I think that's part of it. At the same time, I like to then reconnect after I've been rebellious to other people and get people talking with each other. So that's where I all go.
Rebellious tribe. That's why I love it. Like, connect with curious, passionate people that share the same interests. If I think about the dissection workshop, right, the team that we had there, we had never met. Well, I knew you, but I didn't know any of the other people. And it was a blast of who we had there. And we had such a great time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Lauri, where can people find you?
Those, I should say. And also, I know you're going to be putting it out, but my book is out there. But
can you show it again?
It's meant for everybody. So again, it has references. You can go for a deep dive, but it's also meant for people just with curiosity. There's lots of visuals too. So
yes, Yes, I have it. I should have prepared it. It's upstairs by my bed. It's reading material. Yes, that is what I read late at night because I'm curious to learn more about everything that's out there. Yes.
Excellent.
So we have the book. Where is your book on sale? Amazon? I think I got it off Amazon. Was it Amazon?
It is on Amazon. It's easily found. And usually Amazon is, as a lot of you guys know, price fluctuates. So right now it's low. So if you're
But it's a great time to get the book. Yeah.
Also on Handspring and Singing Dragon and a couple other places. I actually also have the Korean version.
Congratulations on that. It just
coming out in other languages. So we'll see on all of that, but definitely Amazon's probably the easiest place. Barnes and Noble, your independent bookstore, you can have them order it. That's what I did to our local bookstore, and they'll bring it in. So however you like, it's all good.
And social media, where can people connect with you if they want to take a class? I have a list of you of people who want to do dissection.
I know. So, yeah, good. Because we're actually working on that as we speak with all of that, because we do want to have more labs in there. Really exciting, and we love the lab space that you guys got to come into. www.wellnessbridge.com is my main website, and from there you can find a bunch of other things. I think you'll probably, do you have show notes? You'll put in the show notes some of the other links?
Yes, we'll put the links.
Right, yeah, because I have, believe it or not, 3 Instagram accounts, not because I'm on a social media all that much, but I have one that's a little bit more for art and anatomy, one kind of related to the book, and one you'll see a lot of my pictures from the nature trail, particularly, or when I travel abroad teaching. And that's Wellness Bridge, and Facebook under my name, Lauri Nemetz. So you'll have that, I'm sure, in the show notes, but wellnessbridge.com, my main website. And I usually post what the next thing I'm doing there. Also has a lot of different articles for free up there with information. So you can kind of take a look around that. I like sharing information as we can too.
Lauri is definitely a fantastic resource. Let me just put that out there. When you have a question, you're like, let me ask you, I see this happening and that happening. And you can have fascinating conversations if you're a fan of those. So Lauri, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you being here. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, your energy. And I will see you next time in class. And meanwhile, you guys, if you have any questions for Lauri, do hope you feel inspired to take care of yourself today and take care of that beautiful body of yours. Let us know if you have any questions. And of course, as always, stay rebellious. See you next time. Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.